Someone said to Twitter, they acted like it's the worst movie ever. It wasn't. It was weird, but it wasn't as bad as Twitter was making it seem to be. And I want to be on the side of defending it. I really want to, but there were a few weird things about the movie. I might briefly talk about the other Thor movies, but I will probably forget. So I want to talk about the flaws of the movie first. I feel like some of the jokes didn't fit the scenes, or there was too many jokes, or they just weren't funny. And sometimes the delivery of the dialogue was weird, and a lot of it was obviously written just to get some laughs, but it wasn't funny, and it didn't make sense. The CGI was off-putting. I heard that they often rush the VFX artists, and they don't have enough time to polish it. It's a shame because I know it would look fine if they had enough time. I really hate that they mistreat the VFX artists. The pacing was weird. Like, things would happen too fast or just start awkwardly without it really making any sense. Like when Thor was about to go save Sif, and he walked out of the ship, and he seemed a bit bummed, I guess. But I don't really understand why. And Quill walks out and like gives him a pep talk about how it's okay that he's gonna leave the Guardians and that he doesn't know who he is yet. But the scene just kind of started without like a transition. Like there was no segue between the scene that just happened to that scene. And I don't think it was clear that Thor was struggling with leaving the Guardians and who he is. Or maybe I missed that part. Maybe they said like towards the beginning and I forgot. That's not a good sign. But then I thought maybe it's just satire, maybe it's just supposed to be silly funny. And then I was like, it's not funny though. I didn't find it amusing or anything. So it was just kind of awkward. Overall, that whole scene was just confusing. I feel like the pacing of the whole movie was a bit too fast. Or like unnaturally fast. It kept going from one scene to another almost without a reason. Now the positives that I have. Right after they were given the goats, they went onto the ship and everyone started complaining about them. They were screaming, which I guess was mildly amusing. I'm not sure how I felt about the goats, honestly. I like goats in general, but like the screaming got annoying after the third time, maybe. But they were on the ship with the goats and everyone was complaining about it. And Nebula threatened to shoot the goats and then ended up shooting Korg instead. I thought that was a pretty okay scene. It showed their weird, chaotic dynamic, I suppose. When Jane first appears as Mighty Thor, Thor doesn't see her. He just sees the hammer and pieces of the hammer flying around him. And I really like that. I just like the fact that he couldn't see her yet and that he was looking for who was wielding it. I didn't like Jane in the previous movies. I thought she was a boring character. And I still kind of do think she's boring, but I feel like this movie made her a little bit better. But honestly, it's been so long since I've seen the other movies that I don't really remember what she was like. So maybe I have to rewatch those movies. Valkyrie and Korg, I feel like were sidelined throughout the whole movie. They felt like they were just there. They just happened to be in the movie. They didn't feel like actual characters. I just realized this is supposed to be the positives, and I've just been saying negatives. I'll continue with my thought anyway. Valkyrie and Korg felt disconnected from the story and disconnected from Thor. Like I said, they didn't feel like themselves. Honestly, I just miss Ragnarok. I love that movie. This next scene I'm about to talk about, though, I really like. I don't think there was a negative at all. When the three of them went to the Shadow Realm to fight Gore, everything was in black and white, except for things that emitted light, which I thought looked really cool. I just really enjoyed seeing them fight in such a dark place, and it was black and white, just a little bit of color. I love that in general. Anyway, it was cool to see them fighting in that scene. Pretty much every scene with Gore was really good. I like that they didn't make him into a joke. That's starting to be a problem, I'm realizing. I guess I wanted to ignore that. I wanted to ignore the fact that Marvel is just turning everything into a joke. Thankfully, there's still a few things that haven't been turned into just a mess of jokes. It does make me worried for future movies and shows. Anyway, I forgot I was talking about Gore. I always do this. I really liked the scene when he went to New Asgard, and it was very quiet and very dark. There was no music, there was not much sound. There was like creepy, eerie sounds, ambience, I guess. And he was looking over the town, and he started to summon his shadow monsters. And then it was just chaos. Just the monsters destroying the town. I don't know, I like that scene. Overall, I thought that Gore was a good villain, but I feel like he was detached from Thor. There was no personal vendettas, which I guess there doesn't need to be, but I guess I prefer villains where there was like a personal aspect to it. Probably why I like Spider-Man so much. Gore obviously just wanted to kill every god, which includes Thor, and Thor obviously was gonna stop him. But then at the end, Gore told Thor to take care of his daughter, which I don't think makes too much sense because they were just trying to kill each other a second ago. So why would Gore trust Thor with his daughter? I don't know. It's just kind of odd to me. But I do like the concept of Thor having a daughter. Even though most of the jokes weren't that funny, I don't really remember laughing at most of it. The one running gag that I liked when Stormbreaker was upset at Thor whenever Thor tried to call Mjolnir. I don't know, it was just a small, simple thing, but like, it was just amusing to me how Stormbreaker would just appear and like, he looked upset at Thor. But that's pretty much the only joke that amused me. I like the scene towards the end when the group of kids are fighting the monsters because it's kind of inspiring. Like, these kids got the power of Thor and they got to defeat these monsters. It was just nice, I guess. And especially that little girl with like the princess dress and like she had a little wand. That was really adorable. So as I was writing the script, that's more of a guideline. It's just bullet points. I realized that I was writing a lot of flaws. And as I was making this video, I realized I was saying a lot of flaws more than positives, which I guess is telling. So this movie wasn't that good. I really wish it was better. I really wanted to prove Twitter wrong because I had seen so much negativity on Twitter and I wanted to go see the movie and be like, no, I like this. It is good. But it wasn't that great. But I do think that Twitter is way too hard on it. Like, they're acting like it is horrible. But at least it's enjoyable. Compared to, like, Dark World, I could barely enjoy that movie. I will probably never rewatch that movie. Except for the parts with Loki. Those were the only good parts of that movie. But I would rewatch Love and Thunder over Dark World. I do think that Dark World looks better, but the story is just so boring. And I remember while I was watching the movie, I was thinking, when is the plot gonna start? Like, when is the movie actually starting? All the way up until like almost the climax. I was like, it feels like it hasn't started yet. Love and Thunder didn't feel like a Marvel movie, which is odd. I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way, just it felt weird. It felt like a different company decided to make a Marvel movie, I guess. I really miss Ragnarok. Maybe I'll make a video about Ragnarok. Maybe I'll talk about it right now. I'm gonna talk about Ragnarok instead, because I realized that like talking about Love and Thunder wasn't that fun. Ragnarok, it was really good. When did it come out? 2018, right? Obviously, Loki was awesome. The humor was really good. What was my favorite gag? I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched it, so it's hard to remember. Pretty much every scene with Loki was funny. It's been so long since I've seen it, I can't pick a favorite part or gag or whatever. Just overall, it was a good movie. And I also see Twitter constantly saying that that was also a bad movie. And that's where I'm like, oh, no, hold on. That's not true. Yeah, it has its flaws, but it's very enjoyable and rewatchable. Actually, I'm going to talk about the first Thor as well. The first Thor was really good, but I feel like the plotline of him being on Earth could have been written differently because the point of the movie is that he's an arrogant prince at the start and then he becomes humble and open-minded towards the end. But he did that because of Jane. He did it because he fell in love, and I don't like that. I wish it was more that he met the people of Earth and he became friends with a bunch of them and he started to find humanity in himself instead of, oh, he fell in love so he's gonna be nicer now. You know? It's just weird. So that's the thing I would change about the first Thor, but other than that, it was awesome. I mainly love the parts when they were in Asgard because Asgard looked beautiful and Loki was there. Actually, my favorite Marvel scene is from that movie. The scene when Loki finds out that he was a frost giant and he confronts his father about it. I love that scene. There's probably parts of it that I can recite, though it's been a while actually since I've seen it, so maybe I don't remember it, but there was a time where I could recite almost the whole scene. I'm done talking about the other movies. I don't really have much else to say about Love and Thunder though. I did like the end credit scene. I did not expect it, and it was bittersweet, I suppose. And it did make me tear up a little bit. Conclusion, Twitter's too judgmental. Don't listen to Twitter for movie reviews, or reviews for anything for that matter. But this movie was not that good. Once again, I don't know how to end a video.